Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Afternoon Tune. I'm your host, Josh, and with me is my co-host here.
Hello, it's Nick.
And we got a nice, good show for you people today. We're going to be talking about, I finally saw The French Dispatch, the Wes Anderson movie. Finally got a chance to check that out. So I'll be reviewing that, discussing that.
You can put your cinema head back on now.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Very much, that quirky style that very much that Wes Anderson likes to do. He's back at it again with an all-star cast of people, usually returning favorites, things like that. So, we're discussing that. Of course, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Gonna be discussing that, the reboot, remake, sequel to Ghostbusters there. We're gonna be
What?
discussing
Yeah.
that.
What is this? The third time they've tried to make a sequel to Ghostbusters?
Yep, third time. Ghostbusters 2, then Ghostbusters 2016, then this one. Yeah, so this will be the third, this will be the second time, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, second time,
Yeah,
actually.
but this time it's Ivan directly giving it to his son Jason Reitman.
Yeah, Jason Reitman, and we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about, as well, King Richard, starring Will Smith,
Mm-hmm.
about Richard Williams, who is the father of Venus and Serena Williams, the famous.
Yep. Yeah. Two movies that I think the best actor race this year is getting a little tight.
Yeah. So we'll be discussing that. Hey, how's it going there, Silverbrand? How's it going? Great. Thanks for stopping by. Glad you could join us, man. We are going to be discussing. Nick is going to be discussing going to give his review of Last Night in Soho. So he finally saw it. Last Night in Soho is on
Yeah.
VOD, so people can check that out now. So he's going to be giving his thoughts on that. As well as Netflix film starring Andrew Garfield, about the playwright who made Rent and Tick Tick Boom. He's going to be giving his review of that as well. Also, just with some news real quick. Everybody's already talked about it already, but we're going to be just discussing the Spider-Man trailer real quick. Just give
Yep.
our thoughts on that.
Yeah, we're talking about that other movie that Andrew Garfield is definitely not in this year.
Yeah, pretty much. And we're just gonna be talking about all the stuff, the leaks, and all the stuff that's come with it, and whether or not a lot of people have just kind of killed excitement for this movie. So we're gonna be talking about that. Hey, so how's it going with you?
It's going good. It's going good. I finally, because we didn't do the show yesterday, I finally, had a little bit of what could be called a day off. So it was nice. I got some rest, catched up on homework, spent some time with my partner. It was really good.
Hmm. Yeah. Silverbrand, yes, Last Night in Soho is it's good. I didn't like that conclusion, but we'll see.
Ooh, you and me are gonna have very different opinions on the ending. I
Okay.
think.
Okay. Yeah. So I didn't like the wrap up of that movie. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's what we talked about. You can also listen to a review that we put up on the site of Last Line Soho, the ending explained, spoiler talk. We did all that. It's up on the YouTube page now, youtube.com. Just type in the afternoon tune and you should find us there. Or type in just the afternoon tune Last Night in Soho and you should find the review that we did there, non spoiler and spoiler review there that we did of that. So that's all up on YouTube now. Yeah, yeah. Me personally, just of course working, finishing the semester out, doing some
Nice.
couple final projects, and yeah, just doing that for the time. And I should be done within this week or next week. I should be done. I'm already done one class already. I already completed one final for that, so I'm already done already. Um,
Nice.
all right, so let's get into it. Real quick, we're going to be discussing a movie that we both saw together, and then Nick is going to give his review of Last Night in Soho. Then after that, I'm going to give my review of French Dispatch. Then after that, Nick is going to give his review of Tick Tick Boom Boom. Tick Tick Boom. And then after that, I'll discuss Ghostbusters Afterlife after that. So, real quick, so we're gonna do one that we saw together, which is King Richard. King Richard, like I said
Yep.
before, is about the story of Richard Williams, who's the father of Venus and Serena Williams. People know, of course, if you don't even have to watch tennis to know that Venus and Serena Williams. I mean, they're the most famous people from tennis.
Hmm.
They're the most popular athletes from the sport. They went on to become even some of the greatest athletes in the sport. Some people consider, yeah, with all their accomplishments, fame. I mean, everything they lived up to. And I never really knew the backstory of Venus and Serena Williams before. I never knew their background. But of course, I knew of them. Them being as popular and famous as they are. You know what I mean? Two of the
Hmm.
greatest tennis players in history. And this kind of just takes you through that, shows you, about Richard Williams, pushing it, and his daughters to drive them to be the best in this world of tennis, and especially coming from where they come from. Coming from Compton, LA, which is really, really rough neighborhood. Mostly now, it's been kind of mostly gentrified. A lot of it has been gentrified now, but
Yeah, yeah, more or less gentrified. There's like hints of in the backdrop there. I think there's like news segments of the Rodney King beating, news of the LA riots, but all that stuff is in the background. It really wants you to focus on Richard Williams' dynamic with his daughters.
yeah, Richard Williams, who's played by Will Smith here,
Hmm.
and yeah, so because this kind of just is following that whole story, straightforward.
Hmm.
Yeah, I will say it's got a very Disney Channel sports movie type feel to it. It's supposed to be very inspirational because it's like, hey, these two girls, they defied the odds, and Richard Williams. I mean, in the movie, he's kind of an asshole. I mean, that's kind of the way it kind of portrays him a little bit. He's very strong headed. He wants things his way. He believes he knows
Yeah,
what's
he's
best.
very his way or the highway, which is I think a little bit of expectation subversion just by virtue of casting Will Smith, because I think because he was like one of the first black men to become this huge like crossover international A-lister, and a lot of that depends on this like really charming, very affable image. And I think in most of his projects, he chooses to not stray away from that, and that's often to the detriment of a lot of the films he chooses to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's playing somebody who's very abrasive, very,
Hmm.
kind of blunt. Like I said, his way or the highway. Like for instance, one thing he does in the movie, it's like a big thing in tennis is for young people competing to play in juniors, in order to gain a lot of
Hmm.
this experience so that can help them go pro. But then Richard Williams was like, no, I don't think my girls should do that because it's going to burn them out. It's going to, just make them worse of players before they even get to the
Hmm.
pros. So I don't think, and then, he's got high level coaches telling him, one is played by John Bernthal, who's telling him it's like,
Yeah,
this,
John Bernthal at his. I'd say this is probably one of Bernthal's better performances because it's so against the type of character he usually plays.
yeah.
It's usually like, let me ask you something,
Yeah, I mean,
or he's
yeah,
basically playing Frank Castle.
yeah. I mean, pretty much. I mean, John Bernthal. I mean, mostly plays like meathead guys, angry
Hmm.
guys. I mean, that's what he did in Wolf of Wall Street. That's what he did in what
The
was that?
Punisher.
Punisher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to just out of nowhere just.
Because Richard Williams is basically pushing him a lot because he's like, you know what I mean. So many times.
Which is some of the funnier moments in this movie. This like just how exhausted John Bernthal is dealing with Richard Williams.
Yeah, because it's just like, his way of the highway and everything he does. Obviously, it all worked out in the end. Rich Williams was right. I mean,
Hmm.
so he can, have his held up, head held high, chest out because he was
Hmm.
successful. He took a bet on his daughters and it paid off. They became, everything he said they would, massive successes, best tennis players in the world. They became the Michael Jordans of the sport. Um,
Yeah, yeah, two of the greatest to ever do it, and it is a little. I think it was a little odd to me that we focused so much on Venus throughout the film, when I think I would say Serena arguably became the much bigger name.
Yeah, very much. I was surprised to watch that in the movie as well because the
Hmm.
age difference between Venus and Serena is only like a year. It's only a year difference between the two.
Mm.
And this film does focus mainly, like as far as the daughters go, it focuses a lot on like Serena. Venus at first was kind of the more better player when they started off against each other.
Hmm.
And as you know, as their career went on, they faced each other 23 times now. And out of those 23 times, I think Serena is up 13-10
Hmm.
out of those 23 times that they've met each other. And so, yeah, eventually as Serena, people know her now as kind of being, kind of much more the maybe the better player between the two. But this one kind of more focused on Venus and kind of her, rise and her really starting to become this huge phenomenon in tennis at such a very young age, at only like 15 years old, which is
Hmm.
incredibly impressive. Impressive, and it shows a lot of the kind of the family life of the Williams family. Of like, this guy Richard Williams had only daughters that you see, and that all of them were also very successful, highly intelligent, women. One valedictorian, and one, all of them top of their class. So I thought, that was kind of very important to show, which was very nice. And the thing is, it really mainly focuses on. I mean, this movie's called King Richard, so you know what you're getting into when you kind of get into this movie. It's not going to be about from the point of view of the Williams sisters. It's from the point of view of Richard Williams, and it's not a situation
Hmm.
like in the show Selena, which we talked about, the Netflix show, where we
Oh,
said,
where they sell it as being Selena's story, and then we're spending most of the time with her father.
yeah, I mean, it really should be called Mr. Quintanilla, not Selena, really. I
Mhm.
mean, that's, the title of the show. It's like this one, it sets you up to say, like, listen, this isn't really about them, it's about the,
Yeah,
the father.
that motherfucker should have been on the poster, not fucking Christian Serratos.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And so, but this one, they could get Will Smith,
Hmm.
who's a big actor, so they can label that, title that. And I think it's not really much of, you don't really get a much sense of the personality of Venus and Serena. I don't think in this
Mm.
movie too much. I think it's, I mean, it's like, what do you really know about them other than, okay, they really really have a drive and passion to be great at tennis. Okay, I
Mm.
mean, what else is there really? Um,
Yeah, we that's kind of my criticism too. We don't get to spend any time with Venus or Serena when it's arguably the end result is their story. This is kind of like the fucking Phantom Menace of fucking their career, essentially.
yeah, and like I said, when I bring up like the whole Disney Channel aspect of things, it's just
Hmm.
that this movie's 2 hours and 25 minutes. It's very surface level stuff. You know what I mean? Stuff.
Mm.
Conflicts kind of happen, then they kind of get done away with really quickly. Like in these type of movies, especially when you have sports movies, especially in bad areas. You know what I mean? Involving kind of bad areas.
Yep,
There's, oh,
you gotta have your you gotta have like the checklist of stuff. You gotta have, okay, some of the gangbangers in the hood fucking with Richard Williams, check. Drive by shooting going on in the background, check. Asshole neighbor calling child services on them, check.
yeah, which was that was kind of funny though, his interaction with the neighbor, because he said, "Well, ain't your daughter a hoe? Ain't she a hooker working the corner?" I'm like, "Damn!" I mean, Jesus Christ, dude! Like, you worried about my kids and your daughter's on the corner. I thought, like, wow, this guy is just no mercy, absolutely, just fucking savage. I mean, Jesus. But yeah, I mean, so you gotta, there's those kind of basic elements like Nick talked about, the gangbanger element there. That's the danger, but that gets done away with so quickly. It's like, okay, that's not
Yeah,
even that important.
it feels like they we talk about this a lot with the I think a lot of movies that came out this year. I wonder how this would have flowed if it were, say, a mini series or something like that. They would do like 4 or 6 episodes on HBO versus trying to cram, I'm guessing, like 10 years of the upbringing of Venus and Serena into a 2.5 hour movie, which, let's be honest, this movie does not need to be 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, it does not. I think there's some stuff you could probably cut and shave off of here a little
Mhm.
bit. Yeah, so you got to have that element in here. There's the conflict of like eventually, the Richard Williams being a parent is coming off as very overbearing, and then that starts to
Mhm.
weigh on Venus, and Serena, and constantly tell them, okay, you're not ready to do this, but they want to do it. They want to compete and or want to play in juniors and things like that, and he's
Mhm.
telling them, no, you're not ready. So there's that little bit of conflict there, but that gets done away with pretty quickly. Like, that there's no.
It's there. it is done away with, but it's not in an interaction with them. It's him interacting with his wife, which I think is probably one of the more powerful scenes in the movie, and something that is definitely going to be played come award season when they announced Will Smith Best Actor, which let's be honest, he's probably going to get at least a nomination, and I think deservedly so. I think he's really good in here, but I think Will Smith, he's kind of at this point in his career where he only makes two kinds of movies. One is like the throwbacks to Mr. Fourth of July, the really fun blockbusters, and two, when I say Oscar, you say bait, Oscar.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is kind of reaching that point, kind of in his career, kind of just doing stuff like that. And as far as his performance as Richard Williams, I don't know. I felt like, I mean, the guy is supposed to be somebody from Louisiana, as they say, and at the end of the movie, like most what biographies do, they show the real people, and they do the whole thing like showing Venus and Serena, and they show Richard Williams, who's still alive. He's 79 years old, things like that. And the way Will Smith has him like portraying him, it's like he talks with a lisp. And like I heard Richard Williams talk, doesn't really like he sounds like he talks with a lisp all that much, because in the movie, like he said, Venus and Serena are gonna be the two Michael Jordans of tennis. I'm telling you, like it's like
Okay, come on, come on. His list wasn't that bad.
it was that bad. He said white folk.
I didn't even notice it after like 5 minutes. It was a little off putting at the start, but the longer the movie goes on, I think the more it goes away.
I don't know. I thought that was heavily present throughout. I was like, I don't know if he's trying to sound like he's from the South, or he's trying to like he just sounds like he's talking with a lisp. Like that's what it mainly is like. He sounds like he's doing. And that scene that you mentioned with the wife, and I do appreciate the wife in it, because who was the actress who played the wife?
The actor, I had the name up a second ago.
Because
It's on Ingenue Ellis, I think is how you pronounce her name. Yeah, she plays Oracene or Brandy Williams.
yeah, the thing
She was in. Oh, dude, you know where she is from?
what is that?
She played Sister Girl in Undercover Brother,
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, way back
and
when.
and she was also in Lovecraft Country as a Hippolyta Freeman. She was in When They See Us as I think one of the Central Park Five's mother, and she was also in If Beale Street Could Talk.
Okay, because I remember in Lovecraft Country, she was with Courtney B. Vance. She was the wife of Courtney B.
Mm.
Vance in that, I think, right?
Yeah, she was the wife of that character in that show.
Yeah. What I liked about her, I thought she had a good, strong presence in the movie, and a lot of what these movies kind of sometimes do with a lot of the wife character or mother character, especially like when it's like the husband doing things. Like a lot of it would be her regulated to just supporting role, her just supporting the husband, backing him up, kind of just being there. And I felt like with the mother, she was like really a character in it, which I really appreciated. And we mentioned Selena. I'll bring that up again because like that was an example of like, okay, you had a lot about Mr. Quintanilla, but when it came to the wife, she didn't do anything but just show up in different wigs. Like every time they cut to her, she was just in a different wig. Here, it's like okay, like they have a lot of battles between each other. Going back and
Yeah,
forth.
there was a lot of argument scenes between the two of them, and it feels like they've been a married couple for who knows how long, and they have their own issues that they're dealing with. But
Yeah.
they're also putting a lot of it aside for the benefit of their kids.
Yeah, and it gets into a lot of issues that he has. And like I said, I was looking up a little bit more about Richard Williams. I mean, the guy has been married 3 times, so you get why kind of like why a lot of those arguments, maybe happen and what they lead to and everything like that. Yeah, I mean, it's a solid movie. It's cute. Something that you could put on. This is on HBO Max and watch, and you just sit at home with the family, and it's nice little entertainment you could probably watch with them. You're gonna get a lot out of it. You know what I mean? No, not really. It's very pedestrian in that way. But that's not necessarily.
I think I agree with you. It is very pedestrian, but I think it's pedestrian in a way that works. It reminds me a lot of something like just first thing to come to mind, like Ford v Ferrari. Is that one of the best movies that came out that year? Yes. Is it one that I'm gonna go to if I think about the movies from 2019? Probably not.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going there, Riles? Good to have you come in here. Riles, great streamer, by the way. I follow her. She does a lot of great streams. Very fun. Great energy she has. She's there with Chaco and Griff. So if you people can, give her a follow if you can. Riles, KNNN. Oh, hey, Chaco is also in here too.
Chaco!
Hey, how's it
Hey,
going
what's
there?
up, man? Thank you for the
Hey,
5 bits.
thank you for the 5 bits. Hey, thank you, Chaco. Gotta have you guys come on the show sometime. That'd be very, very much appreciated. Thank you for the 10 bits there, Riles. I'm surprised she actually came in here because she big time now. She meeting famous people now.
Oh, shit.
She
She's
met
big time?
Yeah, she met the dude from that starring in Belfast. Not I'm sorry, not Belfast. The guy who's gonna be in West Side Story. He's gonna be up there with Ansel Elgort. Yeah, he's like co-starring with him
Shit.
in that. She's making famous people now. I'm like, wow. And she come onto a little stream like ours. That's wow. That's big. Yeah.
Damn.
Very very big stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should have her on to come on and review West Side Story with us. Maybe when that comes up.
Maybe, yeah.
I think Griff also is big into musicals herself too. By the way.
Sweet.
But thank you guys so much for the bits. Thank you for dropping them. 10, 15. Thank you, Chaco, so much, man. Thank you guys for coming
Thank
by.
you.
Very, very much appreciated. But yeah, you bring up Ford v Ferrari. I think the difference of like something like this and Ford v Ferrari is that Ford v Ferrari, I think, I mean, you had some really great performances from Christian Bale, from Matt Damon, and it really got you into like I don't care about cars, I don't care about racing, I don't care about any of
Yeah.
stuff like that, and it really had you felt the passion that those guys had for racing and seeing them talk about it, you know what I mean, and the love they have for this sport. I don't really get that sense, from them. Like it didn't really make me fall in love with tennis. Some of the tennis matches they show in the movie from King Richard, they're fine. You know what I mean? I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know how technically sound they are because I don't watch a lot of tennis. So I don't know. But I think they're they look good. They're shot well. If somebody's maybe a professional tennis player, somebody who knows how to really play tennis, goes like those scenes look like shit. I don't know. I don't play tennis. And so, but to me, I thought that was good, and learning about the story of the Williams family was interesting to know, and I didn't know that, so that was kind of something there. Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, solid movie, nothing special. It's kind of that along the lines. I'm surprised Disney didn't make this. You know what I mean? It has that very much that feel to it.
Yeah, I'm surprised this is coming on HBO Max and not Disney Plus because this feels very much like a live action Disney film.
Yeah, very much so. So for me, I'd give it a solid 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I think the biggest compliment I can give this movie is that Will Smith is giving this really fantastic performance. He is just reminding us why, for a long time, he was one of the better working actors today for a long time. And I think out of like his Oscar baity movies, this is probably on the higher end of those. I think it's shot really well. I liked the performances, and for 2.5 hours, I felt the length in some bits, but for the most part, I think the movie moves pretty well. Besides the performance from him and Anjanou Ellis, who plays his wife in the film, I think that's the best part of the movie. But besides that, this is just a perfectly fine movie that is probably a better watch on HBO Max than it is going to a theater. I give this solid 6.5 out of 10 as well.
All right. All right. So moving on from that, Nick's corner. That's what I'm gonna call Nick's segment here. When he goes,
My corner.
Yeah, and you're literally. Are you in a corner? Literally.
Yeah, I'm like in the corner of my girlfriend's apartment.
Okay, so Nick's corner in a corner.
Yes,
There you
Nick.
go.
Nick in the corner.
Yeah. So he's gonna give his review of last night, Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho.
Actually, I'll do Tick Tick Boom first, because
Okay.
while we talked about with Will Smith potentially putting his name in the ring for Best Actor at the Oscars this year, I think Andrew Garfield is doing exactly that with Tick Tick Boom.
Okay. Sure. Go ahead. Tick tick boom.
So Tick Tick Boom is the autobiographical musical created by Jonathan Larson, I think in 1992 or 91. It was, I think it was the show he did prior to writing and creating Rent, a couple years before his passing. But here we have the directorial debut of Lin-Manuel Miranda, who we all know from stuff like Hamilton, In the Heights, and I don't know, pick a Disney film in the next like couple years. But here we have Andrew Garfield playing Jonathan Larson on the week of his 30th birthday. And a lot of the themes of the musical are coming to grips with that impending fear of like the loss of your youth. Like one of the opening number, it's called 3090, and it's about his just panic that he is getting old.
Mm.
Which as I'm approaching my 30s, I'm 27, I'm relating to this musical more and more and more. And we're following Larson as he's struggling to write and to write this musical that is not going to get made,
Mm.
and a lot of his fears behind that. And a lot of the backdrop of this are similar things that are touched on in Rent, such as this love affair with this bohemian lifestyle, the love affair with just being people, his character's indecision with committing to his partner, along with a little backdrop of the AIDS epidemic, which
Mm.
was a huge thing in the early 90s. But what makes this movie so great, besides the musical numbers, which I think are fantastic, if you liked Rent, this is a perfectly great. This is a great prequel to that almost, because it's about the real guy. And I think the music in here, I like it more than I like the soundtrack for Rent. And also Andrew Garfield giving one of the best performances of his career. We often joke about him. He's like one of those guys that doesn't age. The man is like almost 40 and he still looks like he could play Spider-Man, wink wink wink. And he plays Larson with this manic but also just exhausted energy. Like he is at the end of his rope and on the verge of a nervous breakdown that kept me captivated to watch. On top of that, I had no idea Andrew Garfield could sing like this. He is phenomenal in the musical numbers of this. I do have a critique that Lynn Manuel Miranda, I think because of the history surrounding this play and the life of Jonathan Larson, there is like a little bit of a foreboding nature to the film. Like in the stage production, the the titular like tick tick sound, it was like the approaching of his 30s and the loss of his youth. And here it feels more like, okay, this is a movie where the guy is going to die at the end of the film, which I think was kind of a mistake, but also it would have been weirder if you didn't touch on it. I think you have a supporting cast. I think is really good. Like you have Josh Henry, who is one of the people that are on the stage show, because that's kind of the framing device of this film. It is the stage version of it, because what was originally a 1 to 3 man show, it's now this full feature length film, which I think for as little as they use that framing device, I think it works. I I'm probably but that being said, this is, I'd say, a fairly by the numbers musical. It has a lot of the similar beats to that, but I think what separates it is Andrew Garfield's performance. He is phenomenal, and do not be surprised when you hear his name thrown around for Best Actor this year. I'd say this, for me, this is probably around an 8 out of 10. I just had an absolute blast watching this movie, and I think it's perfectly paced. It's like barely 2 hours, but the musical numbers, they keep you so engaged.
So with the movie, so it being a musical, so it's one of those musicals where it feels like it's too many moments where they break in song, or Do you think it's well paced throughout the movie, or?
I think it's well paced throughout the movie. I think that was a worry I had with adapting this to a film because the stage version of this is just a 3-person show. It's just 3 people on a stage, and you're adding a huge expansion to the cast. You're adding like scenes of him actually writing the musical. That is a worry that it it could not be paced as well, but I didn't notice the pacing at all.
Okay. So what would be your rating?
I gave it a strong 8 out of 10. I love musicals, and after something like Dear Evan Hansen this year, this was such a breath of fresh air.
I thought you
Like,
liked the music in
thank
Dear
God.
Evan Hansen. I thought you liked it.
I like the music. I think the movie's shit.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know Andrew Garfield was close to being 40. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's like 38, and I didn't know, but was a Tony winner on Broadway.
Oh, okay. That's pretty nice. So obviously, okay. So he's got a lot of experience with this type of stuff and does well at it. Okay.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what he does in that movie coming out next month that he is definitely not in. Wink, wink, wink. Don't
Yeah.
shoot me, Kevin Feige.
Okay, so yeah, I'll see it. You can check it out on Netflix now, people, if you want to. Tick Tick Boom with Andrew Garfield. Yeah. All right. So moving on from Nick's review of Tick Tick Boom, I'm gonna be getting into the French Dispatch with Wes Anderson, which is read by Wes Anderson. It is all about a American newspaper set, which is in this fictional 20th century French city. This fictional 20th century French city, and this fictional newspaper is run by Bill Murray, of course, because any Wes Anderson movie you got to have Bill Murray. I don't even think Bill Murray goes home. I think he just stays there on set and just waits for Wes Anderson to come back and to shoot another movie. It's like, all right,
He's just he's just hanging out in Wes Anderson's house, just waiting on a hey, you got another movie coming out?
yeah, you know what I mean. I mean, he's just sitting there, just waiting. Just sitting there watching Wes Anderson sleep, waiting, wake up. You know what I mean. Make another movie so he can be in it. So you have running the newspaper here. You have Bill Murray. You also have other kind of, like I said, rounds up this kind of great cast here. You got Timothy Chalamet, you have Frances McDormand, you have Tilda Swinton, you have Adrian Brody, you also have Benicio del Toro, Jeffrey Wright, Owen Wilson. I mean, just real kind of big, all-star cast of people. And what it's basically doing in the movie is it being about this newspaper. It's like these little short stories in the film, because every kind of segment of the movie is like how you would read a newspaper, and it has these different like little sections. So you know how like when you read a newspaper and then it'll have like the culinary section or the arts section or the political section. So each story deals with kind of these multiple different stories that would kind of you would see in a newspaper, and it kind of plays out that way with each kind of each segment having these different great actors play these parts in the roles. Like for instance, I bring up Benicio del Toro. I mean, there's a whole segment where he's like this great artist that's in prison for beheading 2 guys. And Adrian Brody, he talks about like, hey, I want to buy your art. And and then when he buys his art, and then when he shows it all around the world, he becomes like this huge big artist, incredibly influential artist, and becomes hugely famous while he's in prison. You also have a segment with Timothée Chalamet and Frances McDormand, which is like this kind of the political kind of element where it talks about like these young kids. Frances McDormand is the writer, and she's chronicling kind of these young kids, being politically active, being activists in France. So, it kind of deals with all these kind of different things. And, it being Wes Anderson, I mean, first of all, you just kind of look at this movie. He's got, a great, eye for, set design, look of the movie, uniqueness of it, really using actors very well in these parts. And I think that is, always highly impressive and inventive and creative, which is always very fun to watch.
Yeah.
Apparently, you look like you're.
Yeah, I think Wes Anderson, he is a guy with his bag of tricks, but he does those same tricks so well. Like with just looking at this trailer that you're putting in on the stream, this like very odd center framing, this like pastel color palette, how everything feels like it's a miniature or like a dollhouse.
Yeah, I mean, he has that very much look, kind of with a lot of his movies. And a lot of movies of his I loved. Like I've loved Fantastic Mr. Fox. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite of his is probably maybe The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Mm.
Um, I know Royal.
Yeah, I think I go more Grand Budapest Hotel and Fantastic Mr. Fox as well. But yeah, Wes Wes Anderson, I think he's a guy that's very hit or miss for me. Either I'll love something of his or I won't.
Yeah. I've never seen Moonrise Kingdom. That's the one
I did like Moonrise Kingdom a lot.
yeah, I haven't seen that one. Of course, the big one of his, people, Royal Tenenbaums is a big one of his.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think with French Dispatch, I had a lot of great time watching it. And the humor really works very well. Of course, I probably didn't get everything in it because I mean, some of his stuff he includes, like if you've been following his career very heavily, very closely, probably has a lot of references to other things he's done in his other work. You know what I mean? That other people
Mm-hmm.
caught on to, like in my audience, they were laughing at and stuff like that. So I think if you are a big kind of Wes Anderson fan and followed him through a lot of his career heavily, then you would very much appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of something I try possibly didn't like about the movie myself. But watching it, I was having a great time watching it. I thought the humor worked. I thought the look of it was very beautiful. I thought the performances of it very nice. I don't think anybody really particularly did a bad job in the movie. I know you really don't personally like the Bond girl from No Time to Die.
I liked her a lot.
Oh, okay. I thought you said she wasn't a good actress at one point. Didn't you say that?
No, I never said that about Lea Seydoux.
Oh, well, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Uh,
Oh no,
uh,
you might have been thinking about Dusk, who I don't know what it is that guy. I think he just hates everything. Or Adrian L. Critico, who is also a guy who I think hates everything.
oh, okay. Oh, maybe okay. Yeah, because she has a role in here. She's in the prison storyline with Benicio del Toro. And yeah, she's really great in it. And she looks really amazing in it as well, which is very nice. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it, up and down. I think I don't know if I'm saying this every week now, but I'm like, hey, this movie might be in my top 10. It might, you know what I mean? But
Hey, we're in award season. This is the time where studios start putting out the movies that are going to be considered for the Oscars.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I can say I think this is definitely going to be in my top 10. I think it is. You know what I mean? I think everything about it really works very well. And yeah, I highly recommend you all check it out when you get the chance. I mean, Wes Anderson's a great creative talent. That doesn't mean that everything he does is going to be great, or everything he does is going to be fantastic. But for me, I think he has a better track record than not. And
Hmm.
I think this is adds to that list. So for me, I'd give it a strong 9 out of 10. For me.
Wow, I'm excited to see this. I think like guys like him, Ari Aster, Edgar Wright to an extent. They're the guys who when you bring up the word auteur, these are the guys that I think of now. And speaking of Edgar Wright, let me get into my review for his newest film, The Last Night in Soho, one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and something that I was angry that I could not see and review with you guys.
All right.
So, Last Night in Soho, it is a what this movie is. This is, I think, Edgar Wright's take on something like Midnight in Paris, or mixed with a love letter to Giallo, who is the famous Italian director who created stuff like Suspiria, and something that influenced another movie earlier this year with James Wan in *Malignant*. Um, where we get the story of a fashion student, Ellie, who's played wonderfully, I think, by Thomasin McKenzie, coming to London to study fashion. And in her dreams, she starts traveling back to the 60s and witnessing the story of this aspiring singer, Sandy, who's played by Anya Taylor-Joy. And what the thing about this film is, one, this is one of the most technically masterful films of this year, especially the first scene with Ellie and Sandy in the same scene together, and how the camera is constantly moving and they're switching places. I would love to have been a fly on the wall of seeing that scene filmed. It's one of the Edgar Wright, I think, is one of those guys where I think there's this thing in film criticism with editing. Um, Good editing, you never notice it unless it is a direct stylistic choice. Much like with Wright's last film, Baby Driver, and how just impeccably that film is put together. And I think he steps his game up even more here. And a lot of the tricks that Wright uses with his comedy films, with stuff like Shaun of the Dead, with Hot Fuzz, with Scott Pilgrim, I think he's using those same tricks, but he's using them for a horror sensibility, which I think this is some of the best crafted scares in a horror movie this year. It's some marvelous stuff to watch. The performance from Thomasin McKenzie, it's incredible. Anya Taylor-Joy proving once again why she is kind of up there with this new crop of young A-list talent. Matt Smith, who's incredible in this, and a wonderful final performance from Diana Rigg, who we all know as the Queen of Thorns herself. This movie, this is right there, up there in my top 5 of the year. I absolutely adore this film. This is one of the few that I'm giving a 10 out of 10 to. I know you had some issues with the ending, but I didn't listen to the spoiler talk. I didn't have time to this morning, but what were your critiques of the ending? So now we're going full spoilers.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to be talking about the conclusion to Last Night in Soho. If you haven't seen Last Night in Soho, just dip out for a second. You can check it out on VOD right now if you want to. Then come back to this discussion, and you could also listen to the spoiler discussion we had on the site as well on YouTube. We did a whole ending explain with some other people. Adrian, no, I'm sorry, Adrian didn't come on for that one. Chris Ayers, Chris Ayers, and Dust.
Yeah, it was Chris Ayers who came on, and Adrian's partner Jeff from We Be Watching Films.
Yeah, yeah. So they came on and they did. We did a review for Last Night in Soho. So, so you said you want to know my issue with the ending, right?
Yeah. What was your critique about the ending? I didn't get to listen to the spoiler discussion you did.
Okay, so my issue with the ending, with the conclusion where it all wrapped up. So the conclusion, what happens is, for people, just to explain it one more time. So the big twist is that the Anna Taylor-Joy character, Sandy, we see her being murdered by the Matt Smith character. But it turns out that didn't happen, that she murdered Matt Smith. And that after she murdered Matt Smith, she became a serial killer, and then she started killing all the different Johns that she had slept with, and maybe some other extra.
Yeah. Because the thing that's horrifying is Matt Smith lures her in with the promise that, hey, I'm gonna make you this big star, and it turns out he's a pimp and he's hoeing her out.
Yeah. And then so she becomes a serial killer, starts to kill all those Johns that she had slept with, and maybe some extra Johns as well. And that she grew up to be an old woman, and then the old woman she grew up to be was the landlord, was the person that Ellie was renting the room out of, renting the room from. And so that was kind of the whole big thing. What I didn't understand is how she was kind of going back in time and living this experience as Sandy, because it made sense for her to be dead, because at the beginning of the movie it introduces you to the fact that she can speak to spirits or ghosts in some capacity.
Yeah, they establish early that she is a medium of some sort, and at least with her mother, she's occasionally sees her in the mirror. She occasionally sees ghosts, but I think she wasn't seeing Anya Taylor-Joy's experience. She was reliving the stuff from the other ghosts who died in that room. And especially when you get to the end, you see how many of the ghosts there were. I think it's like more powerful visions than she's ever experienced.
Right. So I was thinking that because we talked about a little bit. I was like, okay, because at the end when the whole things and then the landlord lady, she tries to kill Ellie because she found
Mhm.
out that even though we'll get into a little bit of that later too with the whole killing her thing, trying to kill her.
Mm.
But so the ghosts are not the ghosts that were hunting her down the whole movie. They weren't trying to hurt her. They were trying to communicate with her, and
Mm.
they were trying to have her, get revenge for them. So the issue with that is like, you saying that, the ghost of the Johns are trying to show things from her, from their perspective to her to kind of to communicate with her. Why would they show her Anna Taylor Joy being murdered? Why would they show that? That doesn't make. I don't know. Why would they show her that? And then two,
Mm.
why there's certain scenes that only Anna Taylor Joy would have seen, like the scene where she's in the dressing
Mm.
room and she punches the mirror. That's only something that Anna
Mm.
Taylor Joy would have seen. The
Well,
scene,
I think this is a case where we're dealing with an unrelated. Do I think some version of these events happened? Yes. Did they happen exactly the way that Thomas and Mackenzie is seeing them? Maybe, maybe not.
okay, I guess if you go with that, maybe I guess. So yeah, so some events is like, okay, how that's only something that she would have known about.
Mhm. And,
And
and I think that scene where we do see Anya Taylor Joy get murdered. I think I think it's more of a thematic choice to show that scene versus what actually happened, because even Diana Rigg's character, he said, yeah, Sandy died in that room, and I think that was kind of like the theme of that.
yeah, we talked about that, and we said that didn't really make sense because like it's like her metaphorically speaking. Because I'm like, okay, you
Mhm.
metaphorically died, but you didn't die really, and everything like that. Like, okay,
Mhm.
because
well
yeah,
that that also is something that trauma can do to somebody, which is what how I read that scene.
yeah,
The issue I have is with the whole misdirection of the Terrence Stamp character.
yeah. With Terrence Stamp, I mean,
That was the thing that bugged me in this, because the entire time you're led to believe that he's the older version of the Matt Smith character, and come to reveal, no, he was actually the cop trying to help Anya Taylor Joy in the '60s, which
yeah,
is so weird considering how creepy Terrence Stamp plays him.
yeah, that didn't really make a lot of sense. It was like I knew it wasn't going to be Terrence Stamp because they was trying to push it so hard that bad guy,
Mhm.
bad guy, bad guy. Like he's
And also, it's General fucking Zod. You
yeah,
get him to play bad guys.
Hey, thanks for the 100 bits, Javon. Good, hey man.
Oh.
Thanks for showing up, man. Much appreciated. He's probably at work right now, Javon. Good, but thanks, man. Thanks for
Hmm.
showing up. Thanks
Yeah,
for
but thank
always.
you for the 100 bits.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to push that so hard. Like obviously getting a guy like Terrence Stamp, General Zod. It's
Hmm.
like bad guy, bad guy. So I already knew it wasn't gonna be him. I already knew that
Hmm.
it wasn't gonna be him. And like some people said, I was listening to a review actually on oneofus.net, which is where Adrian El Critico, where he comes from, where he reviews a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
Also Rose Maddox, she does a lot of reviews for oneofus.net as well. Shout out to her and him. And they were saying that I was listening to the review last night in Soho, and they were saying that they were able to kind of one guy on the review said he was able to piece together the mystery.
Hmm.
I don't know how the hell you were able to guess that Anna Taylor Joy really didn't die, and then she really was the old lady. I don't know how the hell you pieced that together. Don't know like how you were able to kind of use those clues to piece that together at all. So that just felt like that came out of nowhere for me. And I don't think like the whole point of her even them introducing at the beginning of the movie that she's a medium of some kind really makes a difference because there's plenty of ghost movies where characters can interact with ghosts. They don't have a particular special
Hmm.
power or ability or anything. So it's like why even introduce the fact that she can communicate with ghosts seems kind of just
I,
pointless.
I think I think it would have, if you didn't have that, it would have just led this to being some kind of supernatural thing versus what I think is going on there. This It would have lent to the question of why is she experiencing this when you already know that she's kind of a medium. You're just rolling with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this.
I think that's a case of Wright trusting his audience to put two and two together.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole thing, but like I mean, because we've seen plenty of ghost stories where characters can interact with
Mhm.
ghosts and ghosts can take them on and stuff. Like we've seen it, like for instance, like in the Haunting of Bly Manor or something like that. Like
Mhm.
the main character, that Victoria Pedretti, she didn't have any special ability, but the
Mhm.
ghosts, she was able to see certain stuff with with the ghosts, or where they took her on and these different kind of visions and things like that, and she didn't have any particular powers. So I just felt like maybe that was kind of pointless. Maybe it just felt like for me in the movie for her to have it. And then towards the end, with when she tries to kill her, I felt like that was, we talked about that in the spoiler kind of review ending explain. It really didn't really make sense for her to try to kill her, because the police, they already thought she was crazy, and plus
Mhm.
Ellie was operating under the assumption that the Anna Taylor Joy character had already died, so they weren't looking
Mhm.
for the body of a man; they were looking for the body of a woman. So that would
Mhm.
make, and then Sandy was a fake name anyway, so I don't understand why she felt the need to kill her. That didn't really, to me, I was like, that was kind of pointless. And then I was like, and then I think I saw Julian Green, Cobra Star Green, and I think I saw him tweet about this, and he said, I was like, yeah, that's another good point. He said like, that really, like, wow, that must have been some weak ass poison, because like she said like, okay, don't worry, you'll go to sleep in like a couple of minutes. Then all of a sudden she starts kicking and running up the stairs. I'm like, what happened to this poison that was supposed to make you go to sleep? Like, what happened to
Hey,
that?
adrenaline can do a lot in
Okay.
cases like that, and I think there is like historic medical precedent for something like that. It's like that was a situation where she saw her friend John, who I think is played wonderfully uh, by a Michael Ajao, who we all know as a Mayhem from Attack the Block from when he was a little kid. I think he's wonderful in this, and his moments with Thomas and Mackenzie, they they do a great job of grounding those characters.
Yeah. So did you
And
think? Oh, let me.
I think that was a case where, hey, this guy that I like is in danger, so adrenaline, let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So did you think it made sense for the old woman to try to kill Ellie? Did you think?
Uh, I think thematically it makes sense because you have a character in Diana Rigg as the old version of Anya Taylor Joy. You have a character that is so broken by this horrific thing that happened to her, and something that compounded over and over again just drew her to murdering hundreds of people. Which, let's be real, every single one of those fuckers got what's coming to them.
Was it hundreds?
I maybe dozens. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I did, because at the end I did find that really funny.
Yeah, yeah. I was kind of like when I saw Midsummer, I was like, good for her.
Yeah. I did think it was kind of funny, because like when you get that review of all the Johns and all them coming out, and
Mm.
you finally hear what they're able to say. They're saying, save us, get revenge, help
Kill
us.
her.
Yeah. And then
And Ellie's like, nah, fuck you.
yeah, she's like, "No, I'm on the woman's side." She's like, "I'm on
No,
her
I don't
side."
know. Yeah, and by the time and something that Edgar Wright, I think he wanted to touch on, and something that you guys brought up in your review, how far we've come, but at the same time, how little we've come in the terms of gender relations. Because Ellie, she gets off the train. It's not even like 3 seconds that she's in a cab, and she's already getting sexually harassed by a cab driver.
Yeah, yeah, and that and
It's not even 3 seconds, and some asshole that is coming up at the bar is like, "Hey, it's something like, can I bury my dick in your ass?" Which, gross.
yeah, and that stuff. I mean, you know what I mean. Like, there's tons of stories you hear from women with taking Uber rides and Uber drivers and things like that. And
Hmm.
there's tons of Uber drivers who will probably tell you like, "Yeah, man, this is a great way to pick up women, man. This is totally
It is
good."
not.
Yeah,
I drove an Uber. It is not.
yeah, but he's like, "Yeah, man, so many drunk chicks that hop in the car," and I'm like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah,
well."
here, let me say this for all of the fucking like Uber drivers that watch too much porn. Nobody wants to fuck the cab driver.
Yeah, this ain't fake taxi. This ain't, you know what I mean. This ain't
This
fake
ain't
taxi.
taxi. This is not Taxi Cab Confessions. That shit is not real.
Yeah, that's not happening, bro. But yeah. So yeah,
But yeah, and just in with Thomasin McKenzie's character, her romanticization of nostalgia in the 60s, how she's constantly like, yes, if I grew up anytime, I wanted to have grown up in the 60s in London. And then the movie is like, all right, bet.
yeah, yeah. That was, yeah. She gets a rude awakening for sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I love a lot of things about the movie. I love the performances. Anna Taylor Joy nails it. Thomas McKenzie
Mhm.
nails it. I just think some of the kind of the weaker
Yeah.
elements was kind of them constantly putting Terrence Stamp as like this huge red herring. The
Mm.
Mean Girls, I didn't really. I was like, this is too much of them.
Yeah, they're comically mean, but I think that's a thing in some of Edgar Wright's films. Like the asshole characters in that, they're comedically so.
Yeah,
Like the Andes and Hot Fuzz, like a JB Fox and Baby Driver. They're just so over the top evil that they end up becoming unintentionally funny.
yeah. I mean, the first time she showed up, that was funny. But then it's just constantly throughout the movie, her and her crew are just harassing. I'm like, okay, don't you got something you
But I
better than
think
this?
they're not in it enough that it bothers,
Okay.
because you're more focusing on Thomason and Anya Taylor Joy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, yeah, that conclusion. It also makes me think of something like when that whole moment happened where she does the whole big reveal and you find out. It almost makes me think, and she's sitting there, she's drinking the tea and everything like that. It's like characters in movies and shows, they don't realize they being poisoned until somebody tells you. It's like, oh, by the way, yeah, I poisoned your water there, Nick. By the way, oh my God, look at that. And then all of a sudden he has a reaction. Yeah, starts to fall, drops the cup, starts to fall. It's like, oh my God, because that's how it happens in movies and TV
That, that's
shows.
that's how it happens in movies, and I think it like goes to. I think that's there's actually some like medical precedent for that thing, and like someone's talking about, yeah, this thing will probably start making you sleepy right about now, and then it's like a thing that you feel in the back of your head, and then when they finally like say it, you start to realize, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, if you say so, I mean, yeah. I mean, pretty good. So,
Yeah, a lot of your criticism of the ending, I get it, but for me, it doesn't take away a thing from this film. Yeah,
yeah,
this is one that is absolutely in my top of the year. I adore this movie. I'm probably gonna watch and rewatch this like 20 times before the end of the year, like I have with most of Edgar Wright movies.
yeah. I don't know. I just think the ending, the wrap up for me, just kind of knocked it down some points, and yeah, I don't know if it's gonna make my top 10, but
Yeah,
yeah,
a little bit of points for me, but also with Edgar Wright, I think he's a guy who understands that his movies are going to be rewatched, and I'm curious to revisit it, knowing everything that goes on.
yeah, yeah. Also, Terrence Stamp getting hit by the car. Didn't understand that. I guess because all the times that Ellie had almost been hit by the car, so I guess it was a callback to
It's
that.
like a Chekhov's gun that Edgar Wright does a lot in his movies.
Okay, yeah, because he just turns and just car just hits him. Yeah, yeah.
And also, I think that's a common thing from Baby Driver, because Baby Driver, you spend so much time setting up Jamie Foxx as the villain in that, and then it turns out that character dies and it's John Hamm. Well,
Yeah,
spoilers for the end of Baby Driver.
yeah.
Spoilers for a movie that's like 4 years old.
Yeah, yeah. That was kind of my whole thing with it. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But glad you loved it. Yeah, glad you loved it like that. Glad it'll be in your top five. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
I love me some Edgar Wright. He's like one of the modern. Every time a project of his is announced, I'm there. I'm there day one if I can be.
Yeah. All right. And with Cowboy Bebop, we're gonna do that next week. I wasn't able to really kind of watch some of the episodes. I watched the first one. I know Nick watched 5 episodes, but
Yeah, I got to 5 episodes. I think it's okay. I'm curious to finish it.
I only saw the first episode, so I'm not gonna really talk about it that much in
Hmm.
depth, everything like that. I know it's getting roasted a lot, online, stuff like that. I see it.
Yeah,
Um,
but what thing doesn't get roasted online? Often unfair.
yeah, there's not a lot of nuance when it comes to kind of takes like that when you see it.
There's a lot of gatekeeping, I think, with a lot of the negative reviews online. It's like, yes, I once saw the band Seatbelts play in this off the wall club in Tokyo, so that's why I'm qualified to review Cowboy Bebop.
I mean, I think watching the first, and again, this is just me seeing the first. I'm not judging the whole
Hmm.
series.
Okay.
The whole thing, because so they first of all they do the first episode. Half of it is because I just rewatched the anime. I just binged it. Just saw the episodes.
Hmm.
The first episode, they do the first episode of the anime. The second half of the first episode of this live action remake is the first episode of the anime. The whole thing with the guy doing the whole red eye. That's and him with this woman and them chasing this bounty. That's all from the first episode.
Hmm.
So that was like you should have just, and also it being an hour long. I don't think it needs to be an hour long. I don't think it needs to be that way.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it would have been better as 30, maybe 25 minutes.
Yeah, because the show again, the anime was just 23 minutes, and then with the stuff when the beginning of it, when they show him, they kind of doing the action bits. John Cho, he's 50 years old. You see him with his shirt off. It looks good. The action scenes, it just looks so heavily like, okay, I hit my mark here and I do this, and
Hmm.
then especially that fight he has with Faye, in the episode, it's like it's very much like, okay, I hit my mark here, you do this, then I do this, then okay, you go here, and then it just doesn't feel very natural. There's no good flow
Hmm.
of the action to me. Also,
Hmm.
it just feels too bright. You know what I mean? Looks just too, a lot of the colors just look a lot too bright. Um, the world was it's very neo noir, kind of style. You know what I mean? And this is kind of like it's trying to make itself kind of look like Frank Miller's The Spirit, kind of, or Sin City kind of look, but kind of more like a splash page or something like that. Which I don't understand that too much. The guy who plays Jet does a dead on impression of Jet from the show. Like, have
Yeah,
you
yeah,
ever heard that?
Mustafa Shakir, who plays him. I think he's probably one of the better. He is spot on with Jet Black.
Yeah, I mean he's doing a dead on impression of, like, you can almost close your eyes and you can almost feel like you're watching this because he gets his voice down perfectly, and and people don't know he was Bushmaster on Luke
Mm.
Cage season 2. Um, it's like I can't help but think, like, since Nick turned me on to Warrior, it's like Andrew Koji would have been a great, I think, a Spice Beagle. I think he's got the lean, he's got the charm. I mean, I'm like, this guy, and he's got the fight choreography for it. It's like, man, he really.
Yeah, but I think with something that we've talked about with Snake Eyes, with Mortal Kombat, you can get the right people. It's the people behind the camera that have to make it work.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't. And I agree with you a lot. The action choreography, it feels very rehearsed, which is very common in a lot of Netflix shows, which is weird because something like the Umbrella Academy, where that is not a focus of the show, and yet it is so much better there than it is here.
Yeah, because that's what it was.
It feels
Oh, thank
closer to
you,
something like Iron Fist.
thank you, Javon Good, for playing that
But
Afternoon Delight.
it feels like Iron Fist, but I don't know, it feels like people here actually gave a shit somewhat.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. So I mean that choreography was just kind of weak to me there.
Mhm.
So
I don't think the choreography was bad. I think it was just the execution. They may have used a wrong take,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and then so if you me watching the rest of the episode, if it's gonna be like half them kind of doing, like, trying to do an original story, and then half them just doing an episode of the anime, that's gonna be very kind of disconcerting to me. I was like, that's gonna
Mm.
be very bad for me. But we'll see. I'm gonna watch more of the episodes and everything. But hey, that intro, they still got the same intro music. That intro music
Yeah,
still.
yeah, yeah. Everything critical about the show. None of it has to do with the music because this soundtrack slaps, and it's the same composer, Yoko. and the same band behind it, Seatbelts.
Yeah, yeah. So that's still good. All right. So moving on from discussing that real quick. So I'm gonna get into my review of Ghostbusters Afterlife. There we go.
Yes, one I'm very excited to see and to hear your thoughts. I can't see it because Japan's fucking weird with movie schedules.
Yeah. So here, like we discussed, this is directed by Jason Reitman, who's the son of Ivan Reitman. And Jason Reitman, I was a big fan of his. I still am a fan of his.
Yeah, he's yeah. I think his last couple films he's had a couple misses, but when he hits, he is incredible. Stuff like Up in the Air, stuff like his one before that. I think that was Thank You for Smoking. Was that
before
him?
before Up in the Air, it was Juno, which '07, and then
Oh,
before that, it was Thank You for Smoking '05.
right, right. Yeah, when he hits, he's one of the best working directors out there. Thank You for Smoking, Juno. He's done a couple episodes of The Office. He did Up in the Air. But I think with some of his more recent stuff like a young adult, stuff like a Tully, I think is eh.
Where kind of things started because like he had a great 3 movie start to his career. Thank You for
Mhm.
Smoking, which is an amazing movie with Aaron Eckhart, all about the cigarette industry, cigarette business. And then he did after that he did Juno, which was Elliot Page. That was an amazing movie, one of the best coming of age
Yep.
movies.
Yeah, one of the best coming of age movies ever made. Kicked off the career of Diablo Cody.
Yeah. Also, then after that, Up in the Air with George Clooney, Vera Farmiga. That's an excellent movie. That's a fantastic film. Then he did after that, where things kind of started to go a little south, was Young Adult. Even though Young Adult, I fall more on the side of liking Young Adult with Charlize Theron.
I do too,
Um,
but I think it's one of Reitman's weakest movies.
okay. I think Labor Day with Josh Brolin. He did that one. I think that one's I think it's one of his worst movies.
Mm.
He also did Men, Women, and Children, which I heard. I never saw it. Heard it wasn't all that good. He also did Tully. I actually like Tully. I think Tully is pretty solid. Myself.
I think Tully. It's a movie that's too reliant on the twist.
You think so? I think
Yeah,
there's
yeah, it's a movie that's setting up to a twist, which I don't. I think that doesn't work.
okay. All right. But like I said, I like for the most part I like a lot of Jason Reitman's work. I was excited to hear he was kind of coming on to do this. You know what I mean? Hey, if anybody can get Ghostbusters back on track, why not the son of the director of the first Ghostbusters? Right? If anybody can do it, why can't he do it? So here we have Ghostbusters Afterlife. So it's a reboot sequel type situation here with this movie, where it follows the family of the Egon character who was played by Ivan Reitman in the movies. So here you have his daughter,
Wait,
Carrie.
That was Harold Ramis, wasn't it? Who was Egon? It's been a while since I've seen the first Ghostbusters.
No, no, no. That Egon was Ivan Reitman.
Ivan Reitman didn't act in the movie.
He didn't. Oh fuck! Sorry, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. My bad. I was thinking of
Yeah,
someone.
yeah, it was Bill. Yeah, it was Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ramis, and Ernie Hudson.
Yeah, Ernie. Sorry about that. I was sorry about that. I was looking at something different there. Sorry about that. So yeah. So you have that with Egon's family. So his daughter, Carrie Coon, who was Proxima Midnight in Infinity War. I actually just found that out. I was like, I never knew who played Proxima Midnight in
Yeah,
Infinity.
she was. Yeah, she's incredible in stuff like The Leftovers, The Post, and she played Ben Affleck's twin sister in Gone Girl.
Yeah. So you have there. So then her two, with following her two children played by Finn Wolfhard. Of course, people know he's the main guy from Stranger Things, the main kid there. Totally different from when you first saw him in Stranger Things. Now he's, he's 18 years old now. Start to see him a lot of places there. So see him there. Also, and then the second kid is played by McKenna Grace, who is really the lead of this movie. McKenna Grace, she's basically been the young girl.
She's think of her as the young version of most female characters ever. She was like young Sabrina on that show. She played young Carol Danvers. She was the young version of the Victoria Pedretti character on in the Haunting a Hill House, I think.
Yeah, she was also the young version of Margot Robbie in I, Tanya. She's been the young version of every white woman in Hollywood, basically. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, if you need a young version of a white woman, you get McKenna Grace.
Hey, good for her to secure the bag.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So here she finally gets her own lead here, where she plays the granddaughter of Egon, and she's very much like him in a lot of ways. Very, doesn't really know how to much socially interact. Very, kind of awkward in a way, and and it's kind of hinted that maybe she's somebody that's on the spectrum, somebody that is, kind of like on that kind of level of, autism, because she says she has trouble kind of processing emotions or feeling emotions at times, and, kind of, emoting. So, it kind of gets a little bit of that sense in the movie. And it kind of, this family, they come down to this, they're broke, come down to Oklahoma, and basically, after the, they hear that Egon has passed away. They try to see what's there, inherit some of the stuff, maybe, thinking like maybe he left something good for us. And, only to come to this crap shack of a house that's on this farm. That when they go into town, they talk about, oh, you part of that dirt farmer's house. You got that house. You know what I mean? They didn't even know the dude's name. They didn't even know his name. They just call him, oh, the dirt farmer. That's all he had a farm and didn't grow anything on there, didn't do anything with it, but, just stayed in that crap, haunted house. So that's basically what they called it. And very much with this movie, when we saw the trailer for it, I think a lot of people, including us, remarked of how it was kind of much like Stranger Things. You know what I mean? Very much with these kids, going around and focusing on them. I will say it's kind of a little bit like that, because it does give very much of a 80s Spielberg type of feel to it, about these kids discovering ghosts and this cool kind of history of the Ghostbusters and everything like that. And I did like the beginning of that, and I do like following McKenna Grace. I thought she was very good. And how she formed kind of this bond with Paul Rudd's character, because Paul Rudd, he's a teacher, in this town, and he's trying to teach summer school, and he's just one of those teachers that's just like, listen, I just kind of give up. I mean, most kids these days, they're stupid. I don't care. Just sit in front of the TV. I'm gonna play some movies. I'm gonna roll out some movies, and I'm just gonna chill out in my office. And then you kids just sit here. I'm not gonna do nothing with y'all. But he's intrigued by a girl that actually wants to learn, wants to be a part of something. Is very intelligent, knows about a lot of stuff. So and they start to kind of bond over that. The character, McKenna Grace, her character's name is, by the way, Phoebe. She starts to form a bond with another kid in school called Podcast. Guess what he does? He just kind of just goes around.
It's weird seeing yourself in movies nowadays.
Yeah, right? What I mean? Like in movies, it feels like there's at least one character that always has a podcast or is a streamer of some kind.
Yeah, we just talked about this with Chucky, and how like that's basically an entire kid's identity.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's one kid in Chucky who has a whole YouTube channel. He's like, hey, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yeah. Yeah, so there's one kid in here in that, who just kind of just goes around interviewing people with he's got the whole long boomstick and everything like that, just following with the mic, just following around people, interviewing them. And so I thought that was kind of good. And then you have Finn Wolfhard. I mean, mostly he gets relegated to just being the horny teenager. Like, he's trying to go after this girl in town. For the first girl he automatically sees, he's just like, okay, that's my goal. It's just to hook up with that one girl that he sees. The first day that they're there is just to kind of go after her. And what I did like is kind of a little bit of a different approach. It being in this kind of small town. It's not in New York again. So it's kind of like a different change of pace. It's trying to bring it a little bit smaller, which I kind of much appreciated. And the thing about kind of this Ghostbusters kind of thing, it's like, I think Ghostbusters '84, it was something special. It was.
Yeah, we talked about this. The '84 Ghostbusters. It's kind of this perfect storm of circumstances that it's lightning in a bottle that you just cannot capture twice. It had Ivan Reitman, one of the best comedic directors, Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, two of the best comedic minds ever. It had an actor like Bill Murray, who is one of the greatest improvisers, Sigourney Weaver off of Alien, and Rick Moranis. All some of the greatest comedic minds to ever live, all coming together on one project.
Yeah. And, like you had these guys like Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, at the height of their careers, SNL,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It was like, yeah. And, it was an amazing kind of thing, you know what I mean? It was this huge success. Nobody predicted it to be this huge success. And it just kind of blew up, and then now it became a whole franchise, like Hollywood likes to does, make everything a franchise. Video games, cartoon shows, spin-offs, sequels, things like that. You got to keep pimping it until the well is dry, and until it's just lost all meaning.
Mm.
And so I appreciate them trying to go a little bit of a different direction here, trying to find some new angles to it, focus on younger kind of kids, which I did appreciate, and then kind of pound around trying to do this. But after a while, it just becomes, hey, you remember the Ghostbusters? You know what I mean? Do you remember that movie? Do you remember the car? Do you remember the jumpsuits? Do you remember the ectoplasm? Do you remember Slimer? It was like, well, we don't have Slimer, but we got a version of Slimer. You know what I mean in this, and it's like, hey, do the proton packs? Do you remember all that stuff? It's like, well, hey, we got it for you. You know what I mean? We got it all for you. Got the ghost traps for you. All those things that you love, the gadgets, the references, the who. Hey, you remember who do
Mm.
you call? You remember who you gonna call? You remember that?
Mhm.
Well, we got that. That's gonna be in here too. We got that as well. With you have
Ugh.
evil Dave Chappelle in this. He's in this
Oh,
as the sheriff.
oh, oh shit! Bokeem Woodbine's in this.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Love
You
seeing
got
that guy.
evil Dave Chappelle. And so
I,
this.
I mean, I mean, I'm pretty sure Dave Chappelle just became evil Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe Bokeem Woodbine is the good Dave Chappelle now. maybe it's
We were
reversed.
wrong.
Yeah, it's reversed now. Maybe Dave Chappelle's the evil Bokeem Woodbine now. Maybe it's reversed now. So it's a lot of that, and I just feel like it just drags things down when you could have had a
Mm.
nice cool. So I get that. Listen, you want to bring in some of the stuff from the original movie, and stuff that people love, because you have to do a balance with these type of things.
Mhm.
You got to bring in new audiences plus older audiences, to make them care about it, because if you just completely alienate the older audience, then they're going to be mad. It's like, why don't they have this in here? Why don't they have that in here? Why didn't they pay tribute to this? And then, but you don't want to completely go all the way over to the older side, because you want to attract new, younger audience to Ghostbusters and make them love Ghostbusters, so you can maybe do your own, trilogy of Ghostbusters of your own. So it's a difficult position to be put in.
Mm.
And the only one that I think that's ever really done it correctly is maybe Cobra Kai. You know what I mean? I think Cobra Kai, and maybe it's because it's a TV show or what, but I think they were able. I think they're able to do it where they're able to blend like the old stuff, new characters, and
Mm.
then meshing all together. And I think they're able to kind of do it. Maybe it's because it's something so simple as based on karate tournament. Okay, that's super simple. We can just make it a base idea there. I don't know what it is, but I think that does a very good job at doing that, at paying tribute to the old stuff, but also good at bringing in new audience, so even people who haven't seen the movies can appreciate it.
Mhm.
It's a tough balance to do. This one, it just comes off as super pandering. It's just like, hey, hey, remember all
Mm.
this stuff? They bring in the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, except instead of being 80 feet tall, it says like these little cute, little tiny little marshmallows, and they all kind of mutilate themselves and barbecue themselves and do all this other stuff. Stick each other in the eye. You know what I mean? With little umbrellas, and so it's like these little cute little things. They're gonna sell them in packs, probably. Candy treats. Maybe for Christmas, little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man marshmallows that you can put in your little hot chocolate or something like that. And I feel like, yeah, a lot of that stuff is just it's just super unnecessary. You didn't really need to do, and there's tons of references to other kind of Ghostbuster stuff that they've done. Um, and I just feel like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of just the weakest thing about it. It's just kind of like you have all those elements. You had a solid story here about this young girl who felt very isolated, being a scientist, being kind of very nerdy, very smart, and feeling very lonely. To you could have had this story about her reconnecting with her grandfather, who she discovers is also this big scientist and someone who is just like her. That's a solid basis for a story, and I think you could have really built
Hmm.
on that and not had so much in this good, little Scooby Doo kids mystery here that they did, that you could have had also with all the other kids, which would have been fine. It's just that a lot of that other stuff comes in and just kind of, I think, drags it down heavily. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that it'd be interesting to see where you come from, a perspective, depending on how much you love nostalgia, how much, that's a big word nowadays, nostalgia. Everything has nostalgia. Everything's being brought back. Everything's being
Hmm.
rebooted. TV shows now, it's coming to the point where it's interacting with our age group because you have things like Kim Possible who came back and things like That's So Raven and Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah, the less we say about that Kim Pop.
But that's from shows when we watched when we grew up.
Yeah.
And so now that all that, so nostalgia, playing on that, trying to bring all that back again. And so if you're a person who kind of loves just going like, oh shit, that's that, and this is that, and that's a reference to that. If you're a person who loves finding all those little Easter eggs, I guess, then you'll love doing that. Towards the kind of middle and end of the movie, because it's a lot of that. And yeah, for me, I would give it a, I think maybe a five, or maybe, yeah,
Damn.
like a kind of a five or a light six maybe. It's not terrible. I think there's some good little. That's what's most frustrating, is that there's some good nuggets in here of a good story.
Hmm.
It's like I don't. It's like they weren't confident enough to bring it out on its own, so they were just like, okay, we just got to throw all this stuff in here. It's not even done very clever. It's not even done, what I mean, in a great way. Like a person who's really great at that, at bringing in a lot of references, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. When they did Spider Verse, that was amazing because it was like, it had all this stuff from all this different references of Spider Man, the meme of them all pointing at each other at the perfect moment, and what I mean, them bringing up all the stuff that people made fun of in Spider Man 3 and all this other stuff. They know how to, that's a great example too of them doing all the references, doing stuff people love about Spider Man and making fun of the stuff while also paying tribute to it and loving it. And you could have done that a great way too if you wanted to, in references, and done it in a clever way. It's just cameos just kind of come in here with, they just kind of just appear, and then, what I mean, in one way. And there's one thing that they do which I would have called very egregious, but I guess because since the son is directing it, I guess it's okay. So yeah, I'm like, okay, well, I guess if the son is directing, I guess he must have been okay with it and cool with it, and thought it was good. So okay,
Hmm.
whatever. So yeah, I mean, I'd give it maybe like a five, strong maybe five, out of 10
Oof.
for me.
Damn.
All right. So, and sorry about that. Yeah, I mixed up. Yeah, Ivan Reitman wasn't in the movie, and Harold Ramis was Egon. Sorry about that. Mixed that up. But I mean, if you want to enjoy some good Ghostbusters stuff, the Ghostbusters video game, for I think it came out on PS3. That's very good, actually. That video game is pretty good. And I heard the animated show is also pretty good. Have you ever seen the animated show?
Yeah, I think the animated show, it came on like the same time around when they made a show about like evolution. That old that John Cusack movie, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. I think I remember that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like a thing that was around during that time. And yeah, from what I've seen of that show, it's really good.
Yeah, maybe we should do a review of that show. Actually, maybe, because I didn't get it. It didn't last that long. It only lasted maybe like a few seasons. Yeah,
Maybe like a couple maybe like a season or two, I think.
yeah. Maybe check it out. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. That's kind of my thoughts on it. All right. So that is it for the reviews. Javon Good. He said Tully was good. Yeah, I agree. Tully was good. I like Tully.
Yeah.
Good performances there. Charlize Theron and Mark Duplass. Very good stuff. Yeah. Makes me fear getting married, but I mean, that's okay. All right. So, last topic of the day, we're just gonna be discussing the Spider-Man trailer. You all already saw it. I mean, you already know what it's about. I mean, come on.
Saw it, broke it down, put on your conspiracy hats.
Yeah. I mean, people already know, kind of what's going on. What did you think about the trailer?
I was already excited for the movie, well, because it's Spider Man, and I was a little bit talking down on. Do we really gotta like force all of these like old Spider Man villains into this movie? And then I saw the trailer, and there was just something seeing like Alfred Molina back, seeing Willem Dafoe in the Green Goblin suit. There was just something about it that made me even more excited. Um, and they've definitely given a lot more credence to a lot of the conspiracies regarding certain people that may or may not be in the movie. But it's only making me more excited to see it as I find out more about it.
So, you don't think you know too much about it already?
Uh, I mean, most of the spoilers are just like completely unconfirmed, may or may not hear.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are really eager to talk about this movie, spoil the movie. There's been a lot of leaks, trailer leaked. Maybe this photo that came out, maybe it's official, maybe not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the photo that leaked before Kevin Feige, Mickey.
You cut out there.
Oh, the photo that preceded Kevin Feige's assassination of John. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, pretty much before he went missing, replaced by
before before Kevin Feige goes full Wilson Fisk.
Yeah, or replace him with a life model decoy, something like a situation like that.
I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to kill you.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just a shame that a lot of people just trying
It's a
to.
shame that it's a shame that so many people are just trying to reveal everything that's gonna happen in the movie before it comes out.
Yeah, it's like
Because imagine if like if Cap using Thor's hammer. Imagine if that was spoiled months or even a year prior to the movie coming out. Would that be have worked as well as it did during Avengers Endgame?
yeah. I mean, I don't think
I don't
so.
think it would have.
Yeah. And it's like, damn, y'all don't want to be excited. You know what I mean? Like people leaking it. It's like I
You
get.
don't want to be surprised about it, and you get guys like Campia whose livelihood depends on people clicking on their shit that may or may not even be actual fact.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, don't you people just want to be excited, surprised, you know what I mean? And maybe what's to come. And then, I mean, some of the stuff, it's like, I mean, you can already guess what's maybe going to show up just by them casting certain people. You can already make
Mm-hmm.
an educated guess, there. And it's just kind of like, because some of the stuff they probably, because Marvel tries to keep as much stuff they can under wraps, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these superhero
Yeah,
movies.
yeah. There's like a whole lot of examples throughout Marvel's run of them editing uh, out of different trailers, them CGing out different actors in something, uh, shooting entire stuff just for a trailer to avoid it being leaked.
Yeah, there's a lot of effort they go to because a lot of people want to know a lot of stuff about this movie to get the scoop, and then if somebody gets the scoop, then it gets them a lot of clout, as they say, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
attention, and that gets a lot of traffic to them, and you know what I mean. They want to be the ones that break the story and everything. But yeah, I mean, some people are saying like I know too much about this movie already. I mean, I'm still gonna see it though. I mean, it's Spider Man. I mean, of course, I'm still gonna see
Yeah,
it.
of course. Yeah, of course. I'm gonna try and see that opening night, but I think it would have been much more effective if I went into it as cold as possible.
Yeah. In this trailer, I think it's a good trailer. It gives you more of the story, gives you more of what's happening. So,
Hmm.
these villains, showing up, what is, kind of going to be dealing with. And, this one's going to be dealing with Peter, not trying to send these villains back to their death. Which
Hmm.
kind of asked, which I was trying to think, like, I tweeted this out. I was like, well, why is Doc Ock evil? Because at the end of the last Spider-Man 2, he was good and then he turned good and sacrificed himself. So why would he be trying to kill Peter again? I don't really kind of understand that, but unless
Might have what they might explain it in the movie. Maybe this is the version of the character that died in Spider-Man 2. Maybe this is like a different universe's take on Doc Ock.
maybe one that also dies at the hand of kind of at the hands
Mhm.
of Spider-Man, maybe. And you start thinking about like a lot of the Spider-Man villains, like Green Goblin, who mainly just, I mean, he kind of killed himself. I mean, that really wasn't.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
killed himself.
That man absolutely killed him. That man actually stabbed himself in the dick,
Yeah, I mean, he killed himself there.
and which is one of the greatest moments of Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh.
And like, yeah. He's like, oh, like when that glider.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, oh. And then stabbed right in the dick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, he kind of killed himself, and then of course you have like the Amazing Spider-Man villains like Electro, Jamie Foxx.
Which, thank God, they fixed that character, because they did Jamie Foxx so dirty in his movie.
Yeah, I mean absolutely. You know, you see him. He looks fresh. Got some Tims on. Perfect New
he
York.
is a he is a dead ass New York supervillain.
Yeah, and I like how they make him, you know, with a lot of electricity, make him look like Electro from the comics. I think that's
Mhm.
pretty cool, like the whole mask and everything. I
Yeah,
thought,
he's got a decent lineup instead of that like, comb over Jerry curl mix that they were going.
yeah,
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
yeah. So that's yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, I think they leveled him up, upgraded him. I thought that was pretty good. And then yeah, same thing, same situation also happened with Sandman because Sandman also turned good as well. Like he was never really
Mhm.
all that much. Yeah, he turned kind of good as well at the end of that movie. And yeah. Yeah, you know, but of course, I'm excited for it, of course. I mean, people are going to see it. Like, even people who probably haven't been following much of this phase four that we're in right now with Marvel, people always got to show up. It's like, well, that's Spider Man. Of course, I'm going to see Spider Man. I mean, come on. Who doesn't
Yeah,
love
yeah.
Spider Man?
Spider-Man 2002 movie. We've talked about this. It's on the Mount Rushmore of super film.
Yeah.
Without stuff like Blade, without a Superman 77 or Batman 89, we wouldn't have the superhero genre as it is today.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that was very hugely influential. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people love it. You know, and Spider Man, you know, and a lot of stuff he does, you know, like Into the Spider Verse and the Spider Man cartoons, Spectacular Spider Man, 90s Spider Man, which we're going to do a review before Spider Man comes out December 17th. We're going to do a review of Spectacular Spider Man series. Go back,
Yes,
take
a criminally underseen Spider-Man show.
that got canceled after like 2 seasons.
Yeah,
Um,
canceled after 2 seasons after Sony took creative control over the TV rights of Spider-Man,
Dang.
or Disney got the TV rights. I can't remember which. All I remember was Spectacular aired on like Cartoon Network and Kids WB.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we're definitely gonna be talking about that. Yeah, put up a nice poll about that. Everything like that.
Yeah, and you were shocked that Spectacular beat out the '90s show.
I think last time I checked, it was like neck and neck. I think last time I checked.
Yeah, I think yeah. When I checked, Spectacular won by like the slimmest margin.
Yeah, so a lot of people are coming up on it. But yeah, I'm the '90s show. The '90s Spider-Man lasted what, like 5 seasons?
Yeah, I think it lasted 5 seasons, and it kind of ended unceremoniously for me.
No. From what I remember from the '90s show, a lot of the animation was very stiff. You know what I mean? Not very fluid. A lot.
It was very much a product of its time. You had Spider-Man not being able to punch people. You had characters like Mysterio, no, like Morbius, whose entire power set was different. Spider-Man wasn't allowed to, be actually violent as he probably should have been.
Yeah. I don't think. I don't think I
And
looked at
also,
it.
I will never forget the fucking greatest moment of overacting in the entire animated show with Shocker! Cheer to the ends of the
Oh yeah, when Spider-Man became
earth!
Venom.
Yeah, when Spider-Man got the symbiote.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We get the symbiote. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a great moment. Yeah, I don't think people look at. I don't probably look at upon it as fondly as I do the X-Men '90s series. Probably,
Mm.
I think that's probably better.
Well, now we know why one of those shows is getting rebooted, uh, continued by Disney, and why the other isn't.
Yeah, yeah. Is doesn't Spider-Man have a new animated show out now?
Uh, I don't know. He's had like 5 different animated shows, but after Spectacular Spider-Man was canceled, none of them came even close.
No, no, no. But we're going to talk about why when we review it there.
Hmm.
All right, we're going to get out of here next week. We're going to do Hawkeye. Hawkeye is going to come out this Wednesday, right?
Yep. This Wednesday, November 24th, 'tis the season to be jolly.
Yep, we're going to be discussing Hawkeye. That's premiering finally. Jeremy Renner, Haley Steinfeld, going to be discussing that. Going to be discussing Cowboy Bebop live action. Going to probably have seen all the episodes by then. Give our full thoughts and breakdown on that. Also, we're going to be giving House of Gucci with Lady Gaga, Adam Driver. Did you know that Chris Evans was originally supposed to? They were thinking about him playing the Adam
He
Driver
was
role.
supposed to play the Adam Driver role.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that. I would have liked to see that. That'd have been something.
Maybe. I don't know, like, how comedically funny Chris Evans' Italian accent would be.
True, true. Yeah, I mean, maybe he could have played his Dick character from Knives Out, just Italian. Just do that basically.
You know what? It's shit. It's
Yeah.
shit. It's shit.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I'd have been kind of interested to see that. But yeah, great. I'm eager to see that Ridley Scott's second movie this year.
Yeah,
Uh,
we both loved The Last Duel. I'm curious to see how his second film of the year holds up.
yeah. I mean, it's probably not going to be as good as Eternals, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Hey, at least because it's Ridley Scott, it's cinema.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was just people don't know that was a joke. Ridley Scott.
He's very curmudgeon.
He's on the list of directors that they asked about Marvel movies, and
Oh, hey,
yeah, and then he talks some shit about about the movies and whatever.
which is
Uh,
weird considering he directed Alien Covenant.
yeah. Well, I mean, he's still. I mean,
You're talking about motherfucker. You're talking about scripts not being good. Have you seen Prometheus?
true. I mean, he's got some stinkers in his catalog for sure. But Ridley Scott, amazing director. When he hits, he hits. Like we said, Last Duel, really great movie. And yeah, I hope House of Gucci just as good. Yeah, I'm eager to see it.
Mm.
Yeah. All right, people, we're gonna get out of here. Gonna enjoy it. Night. Nick, where can people find you, man?
Well, you kind of already started it. You can find me Twitter and Instagram at Nick. Josh, where can they find the show?
So you can find the show everywhere. Social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're everywhere there. You can find us at just type in the afternoon tune. You can find us. We also you can send us an email at theafternoontune@gmail.com. Of course, we're on Twitch streaming, twitch.tv/afternoon tune. Of course, we're also on YouTube at youtube.com. Just type in the afternoon tune and you'll be able to find us. Do all that good YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And also, hey, we are wherever you listen to podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, you can just do that. And make sure to give us a nice 5-star review. That helps boost up the podcast a lot, so that'd be very, very much appreciated if you can. Yeah, and we're gonna get out of here, and I'm just gonna find somebody to raid, and we're gonna get out of here. So, hey, thank you, people. Thank you for joining, and don't forget to always stay tuned.
Stay tuned, people.